ثانية يرحمكم الله. الله وعجل فرجهم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المنتجبين. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Last night we talked about atheism. And we differentiated between the religious and non-religious, and the three types of atheism. And we talked about some of the reasons that the atheists said they were pushed to be atheists. And tonight and tomorrow night, inshallah, we'll talk about the true reasons why atheists became atheists. There are, many true reasons and logic behind the atheism beliefs. But there are valid reasons that explains the true reasons why they were pushed to be atheists. So one of the reasons is the invalid scientific methodology or method. There are many methods that can prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is the mental methodology, there is the experimentational methodology, and there is the scientific methodology. And there are other methodologies, but the three methodologies I mentioned are the most famous methodologies. Many or all of the atheists, they follow one methodology, which is the experimentational methodology. Experimentational methodology is the method where they bring every material thing to the lab and test it. Anything that cannot be tested in the lab, they don't believe in it, or they don't take it for granted. For example, water, they take water and they analyze water and they see it's 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So they said H2O is water, or water is made of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen. Anything like steel, the pure steel, they bring in and they put it in a very high degree of heat and it expands. They take it and they put it in a very cold atmosphere and it shrinks. Anything they can test or undergo in a lab, they believe in it. They take it for granted. Anything they cannot test in the lab, they don't believe in it or they don't take it for granted. Everything. So they believe in the materialistic world. Anything they can touch, anything they can see, anything they can take and undergo inside a lab under an experimentation, they believe in. So they kind of establish their worldview of the existence of the Creator around the lab experimentation process. So this methodology is invalid to establish a worldview or a universal universal view of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be tested in a lab. It's impossible. It's impossible to test the existence of the angels. It's impossible to test the soul under an experimentation. It's impossible to test all of these behind or beyond the ability of touch. So we cannot touch the soul, we cannot touch the angels, we cannot reach the understanding of its minimum degrees. So those atheists, or these atheists, they are pushed to deny the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on this methodology. They use the experimentational methodology in everything. So it's true reason why they are pushed to be an atheist. But in reality, this test or this methodology, the experimentational methodology or method, can be useful in physics, in chemistry, in engineering, in medical field, in psychology, in sociology, in anything that you can put something to be tested under an experimentation. But things that cannot be tested under an experimentation, you cannot put them in a lab to analyze or to be analyzed or tested. And those things are beyond the nature. Anything beyond the nature. That's why they deny the existence of Allah. They don't believe in the existence of the angels, the soul, the hereafter, the day of judgment. Anything beyond the nature of the materialistic world, anything they cannot touch or see, they don't believe in. So this is the methodology they use, the experimentational methodology, and it's invalid. Why? Because it's not a valid method to establish a worldview of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the mental methodology is the valid method to establish this worldview or universal view of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this reason made them to deny everything beyond the nature. And of course, denying everything beyond nature, they will tell you, well, this is your materialistic existence and that's it. After you die, they put you in your grave or whatever else they do with your body, and that's it. There is no hereafter, there is no day of judgment, there is nothing. So that's their belief based on this invalid scientific methodology to establish a worldview. Another reason why they are pushed to be atheists or why they are atheists is the restriction of the logic reasoning or the logic arguments or the things that the brain take for granted. So for example, they don't believe in the causality law. The causality law is everything made has to be made by someone, right? This building has to be built by someone. Anything, you see a tree, it has to be planted by someone. You see smoke coming, or heavy smoke, you know that there is fire. These are logic, the causality law. The causality, they don't believe in the causality law. They don't believe that this world or this universe is being created by a creator. They don't have any or minimum belief beyond this law, the causality law. And This, pushed them to become an atheist, because causality law is a law that every single human being, despite their, language differences, their color difference, anything, their beliefs, they're atheists or Muslims or, believers or non-believers, anyone with a brain or a mental ability can take for granted this law, the causality law, because we know that everything made has to be made by someone. And there is a famous story. There was an atheist in Iraq, Iraqi atheist in Baghdad, and he went with lots of scholars, Muslim scholars, in debates. And one time they told him, okay, we'll bring a scholar from Najaf to have a debate with you. And he said, okay. They set the appointment and everything. And while this atheist was waiting with, the people for that scholar to come, the Najafi scholar was very late for the meeting. And, this delay was intentional. He intended to be late. So he came late, and that atheist was very mad. And when he saw that Najafi scholar, he said, why were you late? And he said, well, there is a river between us and you. And for me to get here, I have to cross this river. And I didn't have a boat or anything to take me from our side to your side. And he said, while I was sitting, waiting for somebody to come, or a boat or something to carry me from our side to your side, I was waiting and sitting, and I saw a tree cut itself to thin plates and plates. And I saw these thin blades and plates or tablets, they gathered together in a shape of a small boat, and nails came from the air, and they, dig themselves inside these thin plates or tablets. And I was, in shock of what I'm seeing. And then in just like no time, I saw a little boat by itself, made for me, ready, and I jumped in it, and it took me from our side to your side. So this atheist was laughing very hard, and he told, the crowd, I'm waiting, and you told me a scholar will came, and you invited this arrogant man. He doesn't know anything, and he is telling us a story that the brain of a human being cannot accept it. And the Najafi scholar was laughing. And he said, why are you laughing? And he told him, well, you cannot process, your brain cannot process that a little boat made by itself from, the plates from trees and the nails from the air. And you believe this whole universe made by itself by no creator and no, just a coincidence. It's there, and it's with all of this precise system. And then he, realized the story from the beginning. So the atheists, they try to restrict these mental postlets, the logic, the reasoning of the mental abilities. And also another story of a woman in the desert. A man saw her with her camels and sheep and came to her and asked her, do you know if God exists or not? She didn't go to a school, or she wasn't taught, or just, basic knowledge. She said, of course, I know that God exists. And he asked her, how do you know that God exists? She said, Well, when I look and I see camel droppings, the waste of camels and the footprint of the camels in the sand, I know that there is a camel exists, from their waist and their footprints. And you are asking me if I know that God exists, and I see all of these, skies and stars and seas and all of the creation, and you tell me or you ask me, do you know if God exists or not? So it's a basic knowledge that every single human being with a brain that know the causality law for everything, there has to be somebody or someone that created or made this thing. And that's, one of the reasons, because they try to restrict these mental abilities or, reasonings. They try to cover it. They try to make it, ambiguous or not visible. So that's why they push themselves and others to be atheists. Inshallah, tomorrow night we'll continue with the other reasons why they are atheist or they became atheist or they pushed themselves to become atheist. هذا وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.